People who have signed NDAs that have now expired or for whatever reason are no longer valid. What couldn't you tell us but now can? House hunters guest checking in. I never made the show because I didn't close on the house. 1. I had to have a house under contract before going on the show. 2. They would select the other houses we were interested in. 3. I was assigned another show who was more interesting than my actual show. A friend of mine got a job at a prominent local distillery that makes an extremely popular flavored whiskey. They literally buy whiskey from a third-party distillery and dump Torani flavoring syrup into it. I was a model for a few big-name well-known makeup companies. I did several print ads for magazines and a few television commercials. The makeup artists do use the product advertised, but minimally. Like that mascara they're touting. It's over really good fake eyelashes, and they also used another brand of mascara along with the one they're trying to sell you. Also, the clothes in the ads you see are pinned to high heaven on the model. They fit nothing like they look. It's not you. It's not your body. It's fake advertising. Most of us models look just like you wearing that crap without all the pins and tucks and double-sided tape. One of my friend's brothers was on the MTV showroom Raiders. Everything in the show is staged. All of the items that they would find were planted. At the end of the show, the prize was not a date with the girl that he picked. He just got her phone number. I had to sign an NDA because I was part of a test screening for The Dark Tower with Idris Elba. Tried to tell them it sucked. They didn't want to listen. Apple 100% replaced the iPhone 4 for users because of a shitty antenna. We were instructed to dodge, deflect, and deny this was the issue. Cell phone providers were the phone was a fluke. It didn't matter. Don't admit fault. But if they were there for reception, vs water damage, buttons or battery life, you had to make sure you were swapping them with the newer batch iPhone 4 swaps rather than the typical batch swaps. It was a recall without being a recall. But only if you had reception issues. I signed an agreement at my last job that I'd never sue them over anything ever. In exchange, I was allowed to get yearly raises. After I left that job, I joined a class action suing them for making me sign that and holding raises hostage. Made quite a bit from that. Posted this before. If it sounds familiar. Not me. But a guy I know was on cash cab. A lot of it was faked. He was told he would be on a travel food show and would get picked up by a fake taxi at a certain location at a certain time. There were camera crews all over outside the taxi, and there's no way on earth you might mistake it for a real cab. Amazon made me sign one when I worked with a company that painted their airplanes before the public knew they had them. I did the FAA paperwork. I was literally only one of like 7 people to see their airplane fully purple with their logo on it. I was actually taken off of the project for a day because they thought I lied about not having a Facebook. They meant business. A certain global conferencing company still saves passwords for their web products in plain text. Any, and I mean any, employee that works there can see the password. My password there was not my pass, you idiot, because I know other people would see it eventually, and they'd even comment, laugh about it. Full stop. Also, we once discovered that our main conferencing software was letting you sign in regardless of the password you entered. Meaning you could sign in with any email address. Once we brought it up, we first were immediately stonewalled and told not to say anything about it in written format. TLDR, they had the dev team and legal on a conference call, and they decided it was best to just keep it quiet until they fixed it later that day. No client was to be notified of the issue, and the ones that knew of it were basically given a runaround until they gave up. I signed an NDA to waitress at a local family-owned restaurant. The owner was nuts. Definitely had a severe personality disorder. And was worried about his recipes getting leaked. The restaurant is dead now, and his secret recipes consisted almost solely of frozen packaged food. I worked for a native casino. The golf courses lost a ton of money for us, as did the advertising for the courses. Food we generally broke even on because of all the comps. If a crime was committed by a dealer, they would watch the dealer for 3 months to see if there were accomplices. They used facial recognition and would pair match you, so if the same person sat with the same dealer over and over, they would know. This way they could look for accomplices. Then when they busted you, they would sit you down and make you watch a video of you breaking the law. They did this because they wanted you to plead guilty as opposed to an expensive trial. Worked at a matchmaking company. It's all bullshit, just throwing darts at a wall until something sticks. There's no science or magic to it all. Worked for a short time as a QA tester at EA. And wasn't allowed to talk about the game I was testing, the console port for The Sims 4. There wasn't really much to talk about. But since the first few versions were basically just running the PC version on a console, there were a lot of bugs with it. One of the worst was a lighting bug we started referring to as disco mode, since it caused a bunch of multicolored squares to show up on everything at night or in dark areas. I was an intern at Wells Fargo and we were grouped with other interns across the US and given a project to work on aside from our normal intern responsibilities. My group was tasked to look at their current incentive program and the one they were moving to and then come up with various ways they could be improved. 2 weeks before our presentation, someone way above each of our managers had us shred all our work and sign NDAs. A couple years later the story broke about their incentive programs where employees were opening up fraudulent accounts for customers in order to gain more incentive rewards. In 1990, I signed an NDA at Chili's when they showed me how to make their new Awesome Blossom. No other restaurant in town had anything like it and it was hugely popular at the time. I worked as a chef at an addiction treatment facility that went under. Meh. Everyone was ripped off by the counselors. Double quote. No ton. You didn't sign in with $1,000. You had $700. You are still a junkie and nobody trusts you. Everyone thought they were big shots, but it was mostly low-level Canadian politicians. Strung out soccer moms and the stepdad of the singer of a universally hated musician. Kraft Macaroni and Cheese are coming out with a more modern and upscale version to expand their market from lower income folks to higher income folks. It is almost entirely the same product as the 69-cent blue box, but will have a lighter, less orangey color. They will be sold as shells and not macaroni. The box will be shaped differently, and it will go for $2.50 or more. Stated to be released by 1995. There is going to be a Capri Sun sports flavor in roughly 2003. I was a taste tester for Kraft Foods when I was 10. We didn't sign an NDA, but it was supposed to be a secret. I worked security for a preview screening of Beauty and the Beast like 8 months before it came out. A government, in 1972, identified a terrorist by his wife's breasts from satellite images. Mini Cooper BMW replaced our car because the high pressure fuel pump failed 6 times within 6 months. However, the recorded reason for the replacement of the car was because of stained interior from dirty mechanic hands. So it wasn't replaced via the lemon law. Sony got hacked over that North Korea movie because of a 5-year-old account they didn't delete or monitor from an ex-employee. My boss got drunk at a conference and tried to get in my hotel bed. She forced me to share a room with her and declared our room pants free after 9 PM. She got drunk at a baseball game and tried to switch shirts with me in front of coworkers and clients, and when I quit because of it she left me a message saying you're just a 22-year-old little b and it wasn't sexual harassment because I'm a woman. Like she forgot that lesbians existed and that she was one. Not like a closeted one. A full-on had a wife lesbian. I was fine just leaving the company, but the phone call pissed me off. I was 22 but apparently not as much of a little b. They settled within 2 months for a full year's salary and lawyer fees. Lots of missile launchers around DC. Literally dozens. Google doesn't hire direct support employees. They open small projects in the US. Hire up to 250 contract employees of varying support positions for the project. Once they get the stats needed to run everything efficiently, they have mass layoffs and outsource their jobs to a country, Philippines, India, that's willing to accept much less than their US counterpart. At the same time, Google rakes in a huge tax cut because they are creating jobs in the local communities. Edit, yes. This includes YouTube and YouTube content review. I was a translator. contractor for the US military. I also translated Marvel comic books. Marvel had tighter security. Had to sign a NDA for a secure shipment that came into a building I ran security at. Shipment came in at 2 AM and marked transit van. 2 guys had to verify their biometrics and give me the correct password. Then was required to deactivate the cameras on the floors along the travel routes they took inside the building and wipe the footage of them entering and leaving. Long play videotapes so easy to oops tape got chewed. They unpacked a set of vases and trundled off to put them in a private vault. Don't know what the F was in them, but I've seen less security for pallets of precious metal bullion. Thanks for the silver anonymous dude dart. Also, I'm glad people enjoyed my little work story. 15 years in the industry and this is one story that I'll always remember. Did some work on the trading floor at Goldman Sachs. I had access to all trading accounts and transactions. Came across some shady looking accounts which did not meet policy. It did not use clearly identifiable name and I could not find records of creation or testing for it, etc. I asked my supervisor if I should look into this. He turned to me and said, we don't ask about those accounts. Just ignore them. Orders from the top. Trading account creation is a long and detailed process that requires formal approval from multiple lines of management. These accounts circumvented all that and were basically anonymous with no trace. They were also trading high volume. And I was told to accept and ignore them.